Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We have a wide and varied audience today. I thank you all for taking the time to join us for this webinar. My name is Moshe Elias. I'm the product marketer for our security solutions for service providers. And today I have with me Eyal Yair, who will be presenting the HomeSecure solution. Before we go into the actual HomeSecure solution, some housekeeping. You should see on your dashboard on the left-hand side a place for questions and answers. We will try to answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. So please fill them in and we will get to them. On the right-hand side of the dashboard, you have a page where you can through which you can contact us. Directly to Eyal, and also there's a survey that we would really appreciate if you could fill in close to the end of the webinar so that we can get your feedback and improve future webinars. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in and provide the context for providing security services to the residential market. We like to talk about enabling service providers to become secure communication service providers. And today's portfolio addresses both the fixed, the mobile, and the converged networks through our solution called Allot HomeSecure. So just to put HomeSecure in the context, our solution is purely IP-based. Sits in the core of the IP network. Network Secure provides security for all directly connected devices to the network, primarily mobile. DDoS Secure protects the whole infrastructure and customers from denial of service attacks, and IoT Secure protects mobile IoT devices that are connected to the mobile network. This is more an enterprise-oriented solution. The HomeSecure extends the network security capabilities into the home itself, because in order to provide security that is appropriate for IoT devices, PCs, laptops, smartphones, we need an agent on the CPE, which Eyal will further elaborate on how that's done, in order to provide policy control, security, visibility to some extent, but also things like individual device parental control. You want to be able to group devices for each specific child and then apply those parental controls on the HomeSecure service. Endpoint Secure is the last piece of the Allot Secure solution. This is the integration of the management of endpoint security on smartphones and laptops and PCs, so that the security service can follow the customer when he goes offline as well, without necessitating him to actually configure the endpoint security separately from the network security service. Moving on to the unified customer experience. I just want to make sure that people are seeing the slides as I progress. So we've talked about the different layers of security that can be provided from the network down to the residential CPE and also to the endpoint. But really what a customer would expect is a security service that ties these different layers of security into one seamless experience, so that he defines a policy once. Let's take parental control as a simple policy to define. He wants to be able to block inappropriate content for his kids, whether they're connected through their mobile device on the mobile network, their mobile device on the Wi-Fi at home, their Xbox at home, whether they're connected on the Wi-Fi of a friend or in a restaurant. They want that policy to follow the child regardless of the access network through which is connected to the internet, and yet and have a unified experience of one place to define the policy, one event handling system, and one unified reporting, regardless of the different layers. So what we've done is integrate the management of these different layers of security for the service provider and also for the consumer, so that he is now experiencing the security service and not the individual security technologies and enforcement points within the network. Before I hand over to Eyal to dig deeper into the HomeSecure solution, I would like to ask you all to participate in a short poll. That's okay with you? The poll is reaching out to you as actual homeowners. Try to get a feel of how you would go towards cyber securing your home. I assume that most or all of you have some kind of smart device in the home in addition to traditional PCs, laptops, and also mobile devices. So as a homeowner, which option would you prefer to cyber secure your home? A, you don't believe there's a problem. B, you would select the technology yourself and set up the security settings yourself. Call in a specialist to set up the home cybersecurity of your home, or purchase the security as a service from your ISP, or it could be some other cloud provider, but basically let someone else handle the security or the cybersecurity of your home. If you would take a few seconds to answer that, we'll share the results with everyone. In the meantime, I'll just give it another 5 seconds. Just to let you know, this webinar will talk briefly about the HomeSecure solution, but we're also going to run a live demo, first time, of the product itself, so that you can actually experience what a customer would be experiencing from the service itself. Let's go to the poll results and let's see what you shared with us. Okay, so almost half would select the technology and set up security yourself. So I'm assuming we have a pretty technically savvy audience. 18% would call in a specialist company, and a third would take the service from their ISP. Okay, that's an interesting insight. Eyal, let me introduce Eyal. He is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Netonomy that Allot acquired in January 2018. Since then, we have integrated the solution into HomeSecure, into Allot Secure as part of the comprehensive solution that we provide service providers. And today, Eyal is the Vice President of the HomeSecure business unit. Eyal, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moshe. I hope this would work. I'm sorry, but I don't see the screen share, which I hope I'll be able to.
Okay, I'll handle that with Nami immediately. Okay.
Cool.
Well, please proceed
like
with the presentation.
Yep. About 3 years ago, me and my 2 other co-founders, we started Netonomy, a startup company. The idea is a software-based solution installed on the gateway to protect all the connected devices. And the motivation behind this HomeSecure software came from us looking at the looking at the increasing number of IoT devices, exponentially increasing number, but those devices are lacking even the basic of the basic of the security needed. And therefore, we hear about crypto mining being used for IoT devices, baby monitors, or baby toys that are hacked, and the hacker is talking to the child, to the baby, smart TVs that are hacked, thermostats hacked, and hackers are asking for ransomware. So how can we really give our consumers the peace of mind by freeing them from the complexity of managing and securing their home internet. And this is exactly why we came up with HomeSecure. So HomeSecure is basically being used. The HomeSecure is basically built from 3 different components. The first component is the one on the CPE, the agent. We developed a very thin and a very efficient layer of code, which we install on the home gateway. And from there, we inspect the incoming and outgoing traffic. And whenever we detect that something is bad or something is wrong is happening, we immediately block the threat and notify the user via our mobile app. We also have the backend. So every CPE has its own small database. The database holds malicious IPs, blacklisted IPs, CNC servers, and so on. And the database is tailor-made according to the different IoT devices that the user has at home. But every connection is also being re-examined, re-inspected in the backend with a much larger and more comprehensive database to make sure that the connection is good. And if at the backend we decide the connection isn't good, we of course notify the router, the CPE, and we terminate the connection. On top of that, all the communication, all the interaction, all the attempts from any device within the home, inside the home or to the outside world is also logged in the backend. And for every device, we create a profile. So a profile can be the number of times the device is talking to the outside world a day, for instance, the size of the packet, the sites that the device is talking to. So if I have an iRobot, the iRobot probably should speak with the same servers every time it does. So we monitor the device for a period of time, and then we create a profile for the device. And after that, we start monitoring the profile. And if we decide that the device is acting outside of the profile, we also block that attempt as well. And the third component would be the mobile application, which I will demo in a second. The mobile application is being used for a two-way communication. In one hand, we send user notification about things that are happening within the home. Like if we block the malicious attempt or one of the home users trying to connect to a phishing site, the user, of course, will be notified. If we have a question for the user, for instance, let's say someone is coming to my home, is trying to connect to my Wi-Fi network. Again, we will ask the user, this and that iPhone is trying to connect to your Wi-Fi. Do you want to allow, yes or no? And the user can decide whatever he wants to do. But the app is also being used for the user to interact with the system, to initiate a conversation with the system, trying to solve problem with the network that the user has.
Let's dive into the app to demonstrate the HomeSecure functionality from the perspective of the customer's experience. Once the HomeSecure agent is installed on the home router and the app is installed on my phone, I can get an immediate overview. Just launch the app, the HomeSecure app. I can get an immediate overview of my network. How secure is my network? And for that, we have 3 different levels of security. Green, which all is good. Yellow, what we see here, which is moderate. And red, I have a lot of vulnerability within my network. The situation is not that good. Below the security score, I can see notification on different events that occurred within my network. New devices that were added, new messages from the system, and new threats that were detected. We specifically built the HomeSecure for the average user. And for most users, this would probably be sufficient. But if I want more from the system, all I need to do is just swipe left. When I swipe left, I can see all the devices that are now connected to my network. I can see their names, icon, last time they were connected, etc. And I can start managing those devices. Adding a new device to the list is very easy. All I have to do is connect it to my Wi-Fi, to my home Wi-Fi network. We in HomeSecure have an advanced fingerprinting system. When a new device is connected to the home network, it will be detected immediately and automatically and will be recognized and added to the list here in this screen. Now I can start managing each device that is connected to my network. I can change the device icon or I can edit the device name. I can drill down into the device to gain access to a set of capabilities. Let's drill down into the Office PC. Here I can see the browsing history of this specific device, what sites it connected in the past 24 or 12 hours, and if I swipe right, I can see a live stream of this exact device. This gives me a good picture about my kids' browsing behavior. If I swipe left again and left again, I get an access to the parental control. Here I can set parental control policy for this device. I can limit the internet activity hours right here, or set a website filtering categories. I can also completely block the internet access to that specific device, pressing the green icon right here. Swiping left, here I can see the device vulnerabilities. For an instance, I can see if the device has an AV installed, if it's active or not. Let's go back to the camera. And if I swipe left to the camera, of course the camera doesn't have an AV because there is no antivirus for an IP camera, but I can see that there are vulnerabilities for this camera, an open port 1 to 3, and this is probably why the score of my home network is yellow and not green. Going back to the main dashboard and then swiping left will bring us to the vulnerability tab. Here I can see all the threat events that happen within my network. We provide per device profiling and machine learning in order to detect and prevent IoT devices from behaving outside to their profile baseline. We also prevent the regular web threats like blacklisted IPs, anti-malware, phishing, ransomware, and botnet attack. Let's see, I will go to the home screen right now. Let's see what happens when one of the devices within my network is trying to browse into a malicious website. So I will go to Fish Tank from one of the devices from the Office PC, and I will try to browse to a phishing site. So what we have here, this is the Office PC. This is the same Office PC that we demoed from within the app right now. And within Office PC, I opened the Fish Tank. This is a very common site containing all or most of the phishing websites out there. And I just marked one of the phishing sites, and I'm going to try and browse into this specific phishing site. So the Office PC is connected to a CPE, to a router. The router is protected with HomeSecure. And as you can see, the attempt to browse into this phishing site was blocked immediately from the HomeSecure system. And right now, I will get a notification within the HomeSecure mobile app. You can see that I immediately received a message. Here is the threat telling me that the device Office PC in my network tried to browse to this phishing site, and it was blocked. The last thing I want to talk about is the chatbot. The chatbot is used for a two-way communication. The chatbot informs the user on events that are happened within his home network. For instance, if someone came to my home and is trying to connect to my Wi-Fi network, the chatbot will ask me, are you allowed this connection, yes or no? And I will get two buttons and I will need to click yes or no. But that's a communication from the system to the user. The user, on the other hand, can also initiate communication with the chatbot. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to click the question mark. And here I get different options right here. Those are fully customizable, and the service provider can customize them any way he wants. Let's go with I have an internet problem. So I'm clicking there, I have an internet problem, and the chatbot is asking me what kind of a problem. And I will go with my internet is slow. So what happens right now in the background, the system do a checkup, checking all the different devices, all the connected devices right now, and the system came into a conclusion that OneDrive is hogging the internet. So we have a device right now which is syncing files using OneDrive, and this is hogging the internet, and this is why the internet is slow. But not only we are able to identify the problem, we can also suggest to the users of ways to solve the problem. So we can guide the user step by step as for how to solve the problem. And this is very good for the service providers to reduce support calls and to really save money for the service provider on support calls. Because what we do, we take the support scripts, which the service provider has them anyway, and we integrate them into the system for the convenience of his customers.
Another interesting security feature which we have is running antivirus scanning for IoT devices. So we all know that most IoT devices run HTTP traffic, not HTTP secure, not HTTPS. And what we do within the agent that we install on the CPE, we detect the traffic, and if we decide that this is a traffic which we cannot run an antivirus, or it's not an IoT traffic, we just send it directly to the outside world, and then the user gets a response back. But let's say if this is an IP camera or an IoT traffic, then we run it through our proxy server, and once we get the return back, the answer, we scan for AV, and only then we return the answer to the user, assuming that there are no vulnerabilities within the answer. On top of that, what we also do is harden the CPE itself. So what we say to the service provider, we're not only here to protect your users, we are also here to protect your equipment. So what we do, we monitor the DNS on the CPE to make sure no one manipulates with the DNS, and if someone does, we revert to the preset DNS settings. We detect if there is a weak password, Wi-Fi password set on the device. We implement two-factor authentication and MFA. So if the user wants to enter into the UI, the GUI of the CPE of the router, he will get notification into the app, and he will have to authorize in the app, and only then he will gain access to the CPE UI, just to make sure no one else is hacking or penetrating my CPE. And we also set a whitelist for the CPE, a whitelist which we get from the service provider, and we only allow the CPE to communicate with this exact set of IPs or domains that are within the whitelist. Sorry. From the CPE side, we have a lot of experience. We're compatible with legacy CPE. We already integrate with the leading chipset manufacturers like Broadcom, Intel, Qualcomm. We have a lot of experience working with the CPE vendors. Here are the list of some of the CPE vendors we already integrated with. We consume very little of the CPU, no latency on the connection, and our requirement from the CPE itself are very, very low in terms of footprint, memory needed, and so on. So in terms of security perimeters, The first one will be the reputation, IP, URL, DNS, and so on. That's the first circle. On top of that would be the profiling. So doing the anomaly detection on different, creating the profile for devices and detecting if there is an anomaly for a specific device. On top of that would be the CPE hardening, making sure the CPE itself is safe. I'm sure you heard about the Deutsche Telekom event where about 1.2 million devices were hacked, and the hacker created quite a damage for Deutsche Telekom on that. On top of that, we do the IoT and LAN protection. We scan from within the network. We scan the IoT devices, looking for default passwords, open ports, open telnet, and so on. If we discover some, we of course block that. And we also segregate IoT devices. So for instance, there is no reason for an IP camera to start all of a sudden talk to the PC. So we create some sort of a VLAN inside the network. And the last one would be the antivirus for IoT devices. Last slide, summarizing the strength of our solution. So in terms of cybersecurity, full range of security services to consumers in SMBs, protecting anti-malware, phishing, virus synthesis, etc. We do the selective A/B steering. This is something that is very, very unique to our solution. We do the router hardening, protecting the service provider's equipment. We have the parental control, website filtering, and time limitation for every device. The chatbot, which I talked about, troubleshooting, improving home user experience, also while reducing support costs. Compatible with legacy CPEs, we support all leading chipset manufacturers. We have proven record of integration with leading CPE vendors. In terms of that, we have the portal for the service providers to get visibility about what's happening within a single home and what's happening within the entire network. And the last one would be what Moshe started with. It's a unified solution ready to support all of the service provider network, providing a unified user experience where the user can set the policy once and it will be enforced regardless of how the user is connected to the internet. So for instance, I can set parental control policy for my kid, and it will be enforced if the kid is browsing the home Wi-Fi, if he's on a 4G LTE, or even if he's at Starbucks browsing the Starbucks Wi-Fi.